James, muttering, "Not this again." The clock struck midnight and James found himself in the same dark room, the same eerie silence enveloping him. He had been here before countless times, each encounter more terrifying than the last. His heart raced as he muttered to himself, trying to make sense of the recurring nightmare. The room was empty, yet it felt suffocating. Shadows danced on the walls, creating an unsettling atmosphere. James knew he wasn't alone, even though his eyes couldn't see anyone. The air was thick with tension, and he could feel a presence lurking in the darkness.
"James, why do you keep running?" The voice was distorted, almost inhuman. It echoed through the room, sending chills down James's spine. He had heard this voice before, always asking the same question, always taunting him.
James's phone rang, the sound piercing through the silence. He hesitated before answering, his hands trembling. "Who is this? What do you want?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The confusion and fear were evident in his tone. "James, who is this? What do you want?" The question hung in the air unanswered. James's mind raced, trying to piece together the fragments of his memory. He knew there was something he was missing, something important. The voice returned, more insistent this time. "Check the mirror." James turned slowly, his eyes landing on the old mirror in the corner of the room. It was covered in dust, its surface cracked and worn. He approached it cautiously, his reflection barely visible in the dim light.
"Check the mirror." The command was clear and James felt compelled to obey. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the cold glass. As he stared into the mirror, he saw something that made his blood run cold.
His own reflection stared back at him, but it was distorted, twisted into a grotesque version of himself. "This isn't real!" he whispered, his voice trembling with fear. But deep down, he knew it was real. He could feel it in his bones. James, terrified. "This isn't real." The words felt hollow, a desperate attempt to convince himself that he was dreaming. But the fear in his heart told him otherwise. He was trapped in this nightmare, and there was no escape. The room seemed to close in on him, the shadows growing darker and more menacing. The voice returned, mocking him. "Oh, it's real!" James felt a wave of panic wash over him. He had to get out, but he didn't know how.
"Oh, it's real." The voice was relentless, feeding off his fear. James felt like he was losing his mind, the line between reality and nightmare blurring with each passing second.
He turned towards the hallway, hoping to find an escape, but as he moved, the voice taunted him again. "I told you not to turn around." James froze, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel eyes on him, watching his every move.
"I told you not to turn around." The mocking tone was unbearable. James felt a surge of anger mixed with fear. "Stop! What do you want from me?" he shouted, his voice echoing through the empty room.
The room seemed to respond to his outburst, the shadows shifting and swirling around him. He felt like he was being suffocated, the air growing colder and more oppressive. James, panicked. "Stop! What do you want from me?" His voice was filled with desperation, a plea for mercy, but the voice showed no mercy. It was relentless, determined to break him. The voice's next words sent a shiver down his spine. "I want you to remember." James's mind raced, trying to grasp what the voice meant. Remember what? What was he supposed to recall?
"I want you to remember." The words echoed in his mind, a haunting reminder of something he had buried deep within his memory. He felt a sense of dread, knowing that whatever it wasn't good.
"No, this can't be happening," he whispered, his voice barely audible. He felt like he was on the brink of madness, the weight of his forgotten memories crushing him. James, whispering, "No, this can't be happening." The denial was futile. He knew that he couldn't escape the truth, no matter how much he wanted to. The voice was right. He had to remember. The shadows seemed to close in on him, the room growing darker and more oppressive. "You can't escape it, James," the voice said, its tone almost sympathetic. But James knew there was no sympathy in those words.
"You can't escape it, James." The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. He was trapped, not just in this room, but in his own mind. The memories he had tried so hard to forget were coming back to haunt him.
"The night you died, you made the call." The voice's final words were like a dagger to his heart. The night he died, he had made the call. The memories flooded back and he remembered everything. The accident, the phone call, the guilt. It all came rushing back, overwhelming him. The truth was more terrifying than any nightmare. He had been running from his own guilt, his own memories, and now he had to face them.
Sometimes the scariest call you'll ever get is your own. The message was clear. The scariest call wasn't from some external force, but from within. It was a call to face the truth, to confront the past. The story of James was a chilling reminder of the power of our own minds. The past can haunt us, but we must confront it to find peace. Do like, share, and subscribe for more such videos.